Here's a scenario. You're standing at a bar in Portland, Oregon, surrounded by 20 different taps, and you ask for a regular beer. The bartender freezes, gives you a look, and the locals behind you start snickering. Stick with me, because by the end of this episode, you'll never make that mistake again.
Wait, what? Asking for a regular beer is wrong? That seems so normal.
In many American craft beer spots, regular beer doesn't really mean anything. It's like walking into a coffee shop and asking for regular coffee when the menu has 12 single origin pour-overs, 3 cold brews, and a lavender oat milk latte. You might get an eye roll, but don't worry. Today we're decoding American craft beer culture, and we're going to turn you into a confident, natural-sounding beer orderer. Hey everyone, welcome to Speak Like a Native. I'm Maya.
And I'm Leo. Let's get into it.
So Leo, have you ever been to a local brewery in the United States?
Honestly, I walked past one in Seattle once, but I was too nervous to go inside. The menu had words like hazy IPA, double dry hopped, and something called a growler. I just kept walking.
Ha, that's so common, Leo. A lot of learners see terms like craft beer, IPA, and local brewery, and they feel like they need a dictionary just to order a drink. But here's the secret. You don't need to know every beer style. You just need to know a few key phrases. And today we're going to cover the big four: craft, IPA, local brewery, and growler.
Okay, start with craft. I always thought beer was just beer. What makes it craft?
Good question. Craft beer generally means beer made by a small independent brewery, not a giant factory. Think of it like the difference between a homemade cake from a local bakery and a mass-produced cake from a huge supermarket chain. The craft version usually has more interesting flavors, and people who drink it care about things like where it's made and what's in it.
So craft beer is like artisanal beer?
Exactly. In American English, craft often means handmade or small batch. You'll hear craft coffee, craft cocktails, even craft pickles. It's a positive word that signals quality and local pride. The craft beer movement really exploded in the US in the last 20 years. Now there are over 9,000 breweries in the country, and almost every city has at least one local brewery.
Wait, 9,000? Wow. So ordering a regular beer at one of those places really doesn't work.
Right, because the whole point of going to a local brewery is to try something specific. The bartender expects you to ask about what they make, not something generic. If you say regular beer, they might think you want a Budweiser or a Coors, the big national brands, but most craft breweries don't even carry those. So it's almost like walking into a sushi restaurant and asking for regular fish. It just doesn't fit.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But what do I say instead if I'm not sure what to order?
Great question, and this leads us to our first key expression. Instead of regular beer, you can say, "What's on tap?" or "Can I get a flight?" A flight is a small tasting tray, usually 4 or 5 little glasses, so you can try several different beers. It's a fantastic way to sound like you know what you're doing, even if you've never been to a brewery before.
A flight? Like a flight of beers? That sounds fun.
Exactly. For example, if you walk up to the bar and say, "Hey, what's on tap?" the bartender will usually start listing the beers. Then you can say, "I'm new to craft beer, what would you recommend?" Or, "Can I get a flight of IPAs?" That's a very natural way to start.
Okay, so what's on tap in a flight are 2 phrases I need to remember. But now I have to ask, what is an IPA? I've seen it everywhere, but I have no idea what it means.
This is a big one, Leo. IPA stands for India Pale Ale. Not Indian Pale Ale, that's a mistake a lot of people make. It's India, the country. Because back in the 1700s, British brewers added extra hops to beer so it would survive the long ship journey to India. More hops made it more bitter, and that bitterness became the signature flavor of IPA.
So IPA is just a bitter beer?
Pretty much, yes. It's usually hoppy, which means it has a strong, sometimes floral or piney bitterness. Some people love it, some people hate it, but in American craft culture, IPA is by far the most popular style. In fact, if you walk into a typical local brewery, probably half the tap list is IPAs. Hazy IPA, West Coast IPA, Double IPA, Session IPA.
Whoa, that's a lot of IPAs. So if I order just an IPA, is that too simple?
It works, but here's where you can level up. Instead of just saying, "I'll have an IPA," you can say, "I'll have the Hazy IPA, please." Or, "Which IPA do you recommend for someone new to craft beer?" That shows you're interested, and the bartender will warm up to you instantly.
Okay, so the move is to be specific. I like that.
And here's a real world example. Imagine you're at a brewery in Denver. You see a menu with Juicy Bits Hazy IPA, Mountain Time West Coast IPA, and Session IPA for a sunny day. If you walk up and say, "I'll have the Juicy Bits, please," you sound totally natural. But if you say, "I want a beer," you sound like you just wandered in off the street.
Wait, is I want also a mistake? I thought I want was polite.
It's not impolite, but in American service situations, "I want" can sound a little demanding. Native speakers usually soften it. Instead of "I want the IPA," we say, "Can I get the IPA?" Or "I'll have the IPA, please." Or even more politely, "Could I try the hazy IPA?" The word try is magic in food and drink ordering.
Oh, I've been saying I want this whole time. That's a mistake I didn't even know I was making.
Don't worry, this is exactly the kind of thing we fix on this show. Here's the cultural insight in American English, especially in customer-facing situations. Polite phrasing matters. If you're from a Spanish-speaking background, "I want" might be a direct translation of "quiero," which is fine in Spanish. But in English, "can I get" or "I'll have" is softer and more natural. Chinese speakers sometimes say, "I want beer," because in Chinese, well, pijo is normal, but in English it can come across as abrupt.
What about Arabic speakers? I have a friend who says, "Give me beer," because in Arabic that's normal, but in English it sounds really rude.
Exactly right. Many Arabic speakers translate "fofo" as "give me," which is perfectly polite in Arabic, but in English, "give me a beer" sounds like a command. The fix is easy. Swap "give me" for "can I get" or "I'll take." For example, "Can I get a hazy IPA?" Or "I'll take the pale ale, please." Instantly more friendly.
Okay, so far I have what's on tap, a flight, IPA, craft beer, and now can I get. This is a lot of good stuff. But you mentioned local brewery earlier. What's the big deal about local?
The local brewery. This is where the culture really comes alive. A local brewery is usually a small, neighborhood spot where people gather, bring their dogs, play board games, and hang out. It's not just about drinking, it's a community space. You'll see families on a Sunday afternoon, people working on laptops, friends meeting after work. So when you go to a local brewery, you're entering a social scene, not just a bar.
So it's like a cafe but with beer?
Exactly. That's why saying regular beer feels so out of place. The whole vibe is about discovery and local pride. People ask, "What's new on tap?" Or "Did you try the new stout from the barrel room?" You're expected to be a little curious. And here's a phrase you'll hear a lot. "This is brewed right here." That's a point of pride.
Brewed right here. So if I go to a local brewery, I can ask, "What's brewed right here?" That sounds cool.
You're picking this up fast, Leo. And here's another real-world example. Imagine you're in Austin, Texas, at a small local brewery. The bartender asks, "What can I get you?" You could say, "I'm not sure yet." "What's your most popular IPA?" That question is like an instant icebreaker. Or if you want to be even more local, you can say, "What's brewing today?" That's a phrase only insiders use.
What's brewing today? I love that. It sounds like I've been going to breweries for years.
It does, doesn't it? And now here's the part that surprises most people. This next word, growler. I wish someone had told me about before my first brewery visit.
Okay, now I'm worried. What is a growler?
A growler is just a large glass jug, usually 64 ounces, that you can fill with fresh beer and take home. It's like a refillable water bottle for beer. The name comes from the sound the beer makes when it sloshes around, it growls. So if you're at a local brewery and you see someone walking out with a big brown bottle, that's a growler.
That's hilarious. A growler that growls. So instead of buying a six-pack at the store, you fill a growler at the brewery?
Exactly. And it's a very common practice in the US. You'll hear, "Can I get a growler of the amber ale to go?" Or "I want to take a growler home." Some places even have growler hours where filling one is cheaper. It's a great word to know because it shows you understand the culture of takeaway craft beer.
So if I'm visiting a brewery and I like a beer, I can ask, "Can I get a growler of this?" That's another natural phrase.
Perfect. And if you don't want a huge growler, many breweries also sell crowlers. A can that's filled right there, but that's a bonus word for another day. The main thing is when someone says growler, you now know it's not an angry dog.
I would have been so confused. I might have thought they were talking about a person.
That's exactly why we're covering it. Now let's talk about common mistakes because this is where a lot of learners freeze up. Leo, I want you to imagine you're at a brewery and you're feeling a little nervous. What's the first thing that comes out of your mouth?
Probably, I want a beer, please. Or maybe normal beer, please.
All right, Leo, let's break that down. I want a beer, please is understandable, but it's not what a native would say. And normal beer, oh boy, that's the phrase that gets the biggest reaction from bartenders.
Why? Normal sounds okay to me.
Because in a craft brewery, there is no normal beer. Every beer is purposely different. Asking for a normal beer is like asking for normal food in a restaurant with a chef's tasting menu. It suggests you don't want to engage with what they offer. So instead say, what do you recommend for someone who likes lighter beers? Or do you have anything like a lager or pilsner? That's a much better approach.
Oh, I see. So I should describe what I like instead of asking for normal.
Exactly. Here's another mistake, saying, give me a beer. We already talked about that. And here's one from Chinese speakers. They might say, I want beer, please, but forget the article. A beer, which sounds a little off. In English, we typically say a beer as a countable noun when ordering. So I'd like a beer or can I get a beer? Always with a
Got it. A beer, not beer.
right. And Spanish speakers sometimes say, I invite you a beer, translating te invito a una cerveza, but in English you can just say, this round's on me or I'll buy you a beer. Different structure, but important to know.
Okay, so many good fixes. What about asking for a beer at a regular bar, not a craft brewery? Do the same rules apply?
Great question. At a regular bar, you can still say, can I get a Bud Light? Or I'll have a Corona. But if you're at a local brewery, the expectation shifts. People want to talk about the beer. So instead of just ordering, you might hear conversations like, this one's brewed with local hops and has a nice citrus finish. You don't have to talk like that, but being open to trying something new is part of the experience.
So even if I don't know the fancy words, I can just ask what's good here, and that's enough?
Absolutely. What's good here is a perfect natural phrase in any American food or drink setting. And what's your most popular beer is another winner. They both work at a local brewery, a restaurant, a coffee shop, anywhere.
All right, I'm feeling more confident. But I have to admit, the word growler still makes me laugh. I just picture a big jug full of beer making scary noises.
That's the spirit. Now, here's a quick recap for everyone listening. We've covered 4 keywords: craft, IPA, local brewery, and growler. And we've learned the number 1 rule: never say regular beer. Instead, ask what's on tap or can I get a flight? And always pair your order with a polite phrase like, can I get or I'll have.
And if I want to sound extra local, I can say, what's brewing today?
Nailed it. Now let's practice. I'll be the bartender, Leo. You walk into my brewery in Portland. What do you say?
Okay, here goes. Hey, what's on tap? I'm new to craft beer, so what would you recommend?
As the bartender, I'd say, welcome. If you're new, I'd start with our session IPA. It's light, a little citrusy, and not too bitter.
Then I'd say, that sounds great. Can I get a flight with that IPA and maybe 2 others you like?
Perfect. That's exactly how a local would order. You used what's on tap, recommend, flight, and can I get, all in one interaction. You sound like you've been doing this for years.
That's so good to hear. And if I like the IPA, I could say, can I get a growler of that to go?
Yes. And I would reply, absolutely. That'll be $18 for the fill. You just nailed the whole culture.
I feel like I could actually walk into a brewery now and not embarrass myself.
That's the goal of today's lesson. And before we wrap up, let me give you one more real-world example that ties everything together. Imagine you're with a group of friends in San Diego, a huge craft beer city. Someone says, let's hit a local brewery. You walk in, scan the tap list, and say, what's good here? I'm thinking about trying an IPA. That one sentence instantly makes you part of the group, not the outsider asking for regular beer.
That's the dream, just blending in naturally.
And that's exactly what Speak Like a Native is all about. If this episode helped you feel more confident about ordering beer in English, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We drop new lessons every day on Real Life English, and we don't want you to miss a single one.
Yes, subscribe. And before we go, Maya, What's the one thing from today that everyone should remember?
Today's rule: swap regular beer for what's on tap and order with "Can I get?" Instantly more natural. And if you ever see a growler, remember, it's just beer's version of a reusable water bottle.
I won't forget that. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you next time on Speak Like a Native.
Bye, everyone, and cheers to better English.